we had the honor of talking to Mr. James Spann from ABC 3340. Please enjoy part one of this two-part interview. I'm Ryan Hall. Welcome to the studio here at Oak Mountain Media. My guest today needs no introduction. He's the Emmy Award-winning chief meteorologist from ABC 3340. His new book, Weathering Life, gives readers insight into the phenomenal career and life he's led. When he takes his coat off, we know to take cover. Ladies and gentlemen, how excited I am to welcome the one, the only, Mr. James Spann into the studio.
Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
I'm happy to be alive. I woke up today and I'm blessed.
Amen, amen. Is weather keeping you on your feet? Pretty?
Oh, yeah, it always does. Is that your real hair?
You know,
If I had hair like this guy, I'd be a good-looking guy. That's all I can say.
I really don't know someday. It just kind of falls out.
Yeah, personally, I think it's a weave or maybe a toupee.
Oh, oh my goodness. All right, so let's go back to 1973, if you don't mind. You're about to be a senior in high school. You're a junior. What did that year look like for you?
I loved weather, and my hobby was ham radio. We were storm spotters, even though we had no training. We were doing things we shouldn't be doing. But at the end of my junior year, we had a horrible, horrible tornado in a small town called Brent. I bet you've never been there, have you? You don't get out much.
No, sir. No.
But Brent's on US 82 between Tuscaloosa and Montgomery. And back in 1973, guess what we didn't have? We did not have these cell phones. And during a time of a crisis like that, we had to have amateur radio operators. And I had a license. And so they had a desperate call for help for ham radio operators from Tuscaloosa to come down there. So I was one of the first groups in there, and we got down there quick. And I will never forget what I saw that night. It was a Sunday night, May 27th, 1973. 5 people had died down there, and this was an EF4. This was a rough one. This was a strong, violent tornado. The darkness, the human suffering, the need, the odd odor, the scent of death, the first responders call it. And we stayed there 3 days, and that started to open my eyes. And it put something in me that's still there today. It's not a fear. I don't even know it's a fascination, but there's something that's still in me today. And I think that event started me on this journey that I'm on today.
The fact that you can recall that, I mean, just like it was yesterday, it's clear.
Oh, I remember. I can shut my eyes and just see downtown Brent. The Brent Baptist Church was hit. And again, this was a Sunday night. Back in those days, the Baptists, that they had what's now called discipleship training, was called Training Union back then. And between that and the evening worship service, a man by the name of Andrew Mitchell was killed in the church. And I've had the chance to share in that pulpit many times, but that I will always be connected to Brent because of that night and what happened. But then the next year, I was a senior in high school. This was April 3rd, 1974. Had a horrible, horrible tornado outbreak. And Tuscaloosa was not affected, so we were free to go volunteer. And my principal at the school, my high school, gave me 3 days off, and that was life-changing. And I am thankful to this day that that man did that for me. But we were called to take our ham radio gear and go to these disaster sites and set up a link between the tornado site and the relief agencies in Birmingham. And the first place we went was Jasper. You ever been to Jasper? You don't get out much. No, you really don't get. At the time, the hospital was called the People's Hospital, small hospital in downtown Jasper. And we were busy. They set me up in the emergency room. And so we set up our gear, and I was busy, antennas and running cables and everything, and I wasn't paying attention. But after we got everything set up, we got the link established, I started to look around, and I could not believe what I saw. I don't think a 17-year-old should see that. The graphic nature of the wounds of people coming into that place. I have not talked about it publicly. I've not talked about it privately, and I won't. I just don't have anything to say. I had night terrors for a few years. I'd wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, and I lost my innocence that night. I wanted storms. I wanted them. I wanted a tornado watch. I wanted some action. But that night changed everything. I realized, boy, there is a nasty, serious back end side to this thing that I've not really thought through. And I think I had to experience that as part of the preparation for doing this job I've done for so long. I don't know why, but that was a life changer.
Yes, sir. So it's one thing to witness a storm like that, but it's another thing to be in the middle of that relief as an amateur ham radio operator.
Yeah. There's a real human element to this thing. And I just didn't think about it. I just did not think about it. The 1973 Brent tornado
Mhm.
started that process,
Right.
but boy, that night everything changed. And so, and I was a senior. This is when you've got your plans, and my plan was to go into electrical engineering. I was never, ever told by any guidance counselor that meteorology, atmospheric science was a viable career option.
Hmm.
So I was just going to be a volunteer storm spotter and be an electrical engineer because I love to tear radios apart, put them back together again. Um, but through that whole decade of the 70s and on through college, when I was in college, we had wild events. Goodness, just constant severe weather events. And my job at the time was working at a little radio station in Tuscaloosa. Uh, I come from a low income background, and it was just me and my mama. My
Right.
dad abandoned us when I was 7, and I have no siblings. And I had to go to work when I was 7. And I've just, and I'll say this, can I tell you a secret? If you tell
Absolutely.
anybody, I'll break your legs,
Hey,
or I know somebody that can. Uh, so here's my secret. I am not good at anything I do. I'm not. I am not good
Hmm.
at anything I do, whether it's weather, all the volunteer things I do, children's ministry, in a church. I'm chairman of the board of Grandview Medical Center.
Yes, sir.
I'm not good, but let me tell you something. I will work harder than anybody else watching this to accomplish a goal. And that work ethic came about as as a result of my father leaving. And I had to
Right.
be the man of the house. So I am thankful to this day. I've learned how to work hard. That's carried me a lot. But I worked at a little radio station in Tuscaloosa
Yes,
when
sir.
I was in high school, which was a dream job. I wasn't cutting grass. I wasn't carrying golf bags. I was playing rock and roll music. I was
Right.
playing Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin. I mean,
Hey.
this is good stuff here. And that gave me an opportunity to kind of come out of my shell. I was an introvert. I was afraid of people. I just didn't know that many people. And I learned a little bit about mass communication where to me, I was talking to my whole world, which I was back
Right.
then at that little radio station. The young people listen to that. But um, again, that was part of the preparation, was learning a little bit about communication through all those weather events. But guess what happened?
Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to check back next week for part 2.